Welcome to the Smart CEO Smart Chat. I am Kyra Hardwick, and I am thrilled to be here with you. Thanks for tuning in. We hope that this episode will be an incredible influence on the way that you do the work that you do every day. So whether you're a smart CEO, working from home, working from the office, simply navigating your life and family, whatever it is, today's the day you made a great decision to tune into our podcast and get this smart talk. So let's dig in.
Welcome back to yet another episode of the Smart Talk podcast. I am today's host, Alena Conley, and I am head of learning and impact here at the Kyra Company. And I am joined today by Derek Ross of the D2 Group, who is also a member of our latest cohort. Welcome to the show, Derek.
Hey, thank you for having me. I'm excited to be a part of the Smart CEO community and be able to pour into all of our members.
Absolutely. So, outside of being a member of our cohort, you have also really helped us to brand our own company as well as the program. You had a great part of that storytelling and that vision. So, first of all, thank you for that. But what I know about you is that you take a very inward facing approach to design, right? And really thinking about that storytelling element. So I would love for us to kind of start there talking about when you think about a company or even an individual creating their brand, where do you start? What do you think are important when deciding what that looks like?
I think for me, on the different companies that I've worked with over the years, it's always boiled down to who are you and what impact are you trying to create and what do you want people to know you as, right? Because a lot of times people will look at others for inspiration and they'll try to be what that brand is, or I want to get that look, but it does not align with them whatsoever. And so I've always taken that first approach to, okay, let's just take a step back. Let's breathe. Who are you? What have people said about you? How you show up in the market? What has been successful? Like really getting back into the basics of that foundation. And then we build from there. So going into, I always say, we start with the logo, the look and feel, just make sure those things are done first and everything else can come from there. But you have to be authentic. You have to be true to who you are, where you are. It's great to look at other brands for inspiration, but you have to really connect it back to, at the end of the day, the people that you're serving, the impact that you're trying to create, the products that you are created to change people's lives in some sort of way, and make sure that it is all rooted from there.
So if we take your own strategy and ask you, who are you, Derek? If we look at your story of how you even ended
Mhm.
up here, how did you get to this place?
Wow, I call myself an your inspirational hype man, right? So a lot of people know me for I do this thing called Rules of Ross, where I just share like insights and inspiration. And I've always been at that in my core. I've always been a cheerleader for other people, my friends, and so that's always been a part of just innately who I am. And so that then translates into the field that I'm in: marketing, public relations, storytelling, and just really wanting to amplify the voices and the visibility of people, right? Whether it's a brand who serves people, whether it's the individuals who lead that brand who have a bigger story to tell outside of just the work that they do. It's always boiled down to that. And so I get joy out of seeing other people create impact through what they've been through, what they've created, what they put their blood, sweat, and tears into. And I can relate to that as well because that's been a part of my story and just wanting to serve. And so just coming from a serving perspective, so how that shows up in business is I've always been the person that people can count on no matter what. Even I'm in market, I'm in branding, I'm in public relations, but hey, Derek, we need somebody to come help support at this event. Hey, I'll come support if I have the time. And so it's not just showing up in the spaces where I get paid to show up, but also showing up in ways that makes me rememberable, but also invaluable. And so even over the course of my career, when I worked for agencies and when I left, people were still asking about me. Where was I? Where is Derek? We need to bring Derek back. And so for me, it was one of those things. Wow, like I've created this ecosystem or this kind of brand, just being who I am and showing up. And so that's translated into just all the work that I do and then who I continue to show up to be. And it's not hard for me because that's just who I am innately. So I always tell people, be who you are. Because eventually, if you're going to pretend to be somebody you're not, you can only pretend for so long before the mask comes down and before you cannot sustain that because it's not naturally a part of who you were created to be as an individual.
Yeah. What do you attribute that to? Because I think that the be authentic, be who you are
Mhm.
message is something that we've heard our entire lives. For many people, it doesn't come naturally because maybe they don't know who they are. Maybe they're in
Mm.
environments that don't support that, right? So when you think about your own upbringing, what are some of those values or just environments that you think helped foster your authenticity?
I think creating a circle around you that you can always trust that's going to call you on the carpet. I always say I am blessed to have an inner circle that knows me through and through. So even when I'm going through something, or even when I'm having, they know what I do from a business perspective, but they also know who I am as an individual and how I show up. They'll check me. Or if I go there and get a pulse check, right? So I think it's having the right community and support around you who's not afraid to be honest with you and not just be a yes person. So that's one thing. Also, just being tried and tested. Life is going to test you, experiences. And so for me, each one has, I've learned that, hey, I knew what I should have said, but I didn't say it and it still didn't turn out the right way. Or I still got burnt in the end because someone had another agenda. And so then if I didn't say what I needed to say, then next time I'm going to say what I need to say because if the result is going to still be that, then what was the point of me trying to move in a way that I thought was going to give a positive outcome and felt that my voice was going to be too much or too strong because someone has always said, oh, don't speak up right now, or don't do this or don't do that. And so I think over time for me, seeing and knowing what I know, I think ageism, I've always been the youngest in the room. I've always been questioned. So having to find my voice in ways that felt uncomfortable to challenge or push back in respectful ways. But it's in those times where I found my voice and found that okay, Derek, if you know what you know, say it because I never want to go to sleep wishing I would have said something and didn't. And a lot of times what I provided or what I said came out to be true. So whether it was an idea or whether it was an insight that everybody else in the room was talking about going left, and I'm like, no, we really need to go right. And I'm like, okay, don't say it, don't say it. And then eventually I was like, you know what? How about we think about this? What if we went this way? And then doing that and getting the thumbs up or the confirmation that hey you trusted your voice, you trusted your experience, over time it just started to strengthen that voice, that authenticity. But it always takes that first little step, right? So yes, it was scary, yes, I was fearful, I didn't know how it was going to turn out, but had I never taken the first step, it wouldn't continue to push me to take bigger steps and bigger steps in voicing and sharing those opinions and thoughts in those rooms.
I love that. I think about I work in the space of coaching, and something that I see a lot is people feeling like they have to be validated for gifts that they are innately capable of, right? So whether that's a certification, a degree, certain years. So even when you gave up the example of ageism, that's something that I've even questioned myself around as a coach, right? I've been doing this since I was mid 30s, but
Mhm.
many coaches are become coaches once they've lived life, right? Once they've had a career,
Mhm.
it's, oh, okay, I'm gonna retire, I'm gonna become an executive coach because I have all of this knowledge. And so I would always have this self-doubt of how can you tell somebody how to run their life and you out here barely managing? Do you think that now that I'm 6 years into my practice and I have had significant transformation with my clients, and 90% of my business now are repeat clients,
Mhm.
what that has the confidence that's given me is, first of all, as a coach, is I always know that my clients have the answer, right? So I don't have to
Mhm.
have lived life to be a coach. All I have to do is be a listener. And that skill has
Cool.
always been innately mine. It doesn't matter how old you are, you can be a good listener, right? And so I
Mhm.
think as I hear you say that, it's really people that are listening, hopefully, are taking away this point of knowing what is truly yours. We all are born with certain gifts that it doesn't matter how long you have it, it's just there. Like when it comes to
Yeah.
certain things, I could just do it with my eyes closed, right? And one of the things that has been coming up in conversation a lot in my circles are the 40,000 Black women who have been laid off from corporate spaces. I attended a conference a couple of months ago for my sorority,
Hmm.
and many of them were on panels saying, when I came out of the School of Business at FAM, I went straight into corporate. I climbed the corporate ladder. I've done all the things. And I turned around thinking I'm about to retire in 5 years, and suddenly I'm laid off, right? I've had every accolade. I've had every promotion. I've never hit this road bump in my career. And it's
Mm.
not that I'm laid off because I'm not performing, it's laid off because we were targeted. And so, with that, as a coach sitting in the audience, I'm looking at all of these people that I've admired for years.
Mhm.
And very clear to me was, outside of the title at the job, they really had no sense of like, what are like my absolute gifts that even if I
Yeah.
didn't have this. And so they were all like, oh, I need branding, I need a story. And I'm like, you do. But in order to
Yeah.
get that, we got to find that voice. And so I would love to hear from you, because I know that you work with a lot of very powerful women, our CEO included, right? And shout out to Kyra. But if you were talking to these very successful women who are now trying to reinvent themselves outside of their
Mhm.
corporations, where would you start?
I would start to, it's really in the whispers, right? Because a lot of
Mm,
times there people have told them like, "Oh my goodness, you're great at this," or "Oh, you helped me so much in this," and it came so easy and so natural to them, right? And I think
mm,
sometimes we gloss over the things that come so easy and natural to us, and we think that, oh, that's not important or that's not the thing. It's because I worked so hard. It's because I went to school and I know all this knowledge about this space or this industry or marketing, but it's really in those quiet secret things that people tell us that we really don't pay attention to. People used to always tell me like, Derek, oh my goodness, you have a lot of amazing ideas and you can see it. I can hear somebody can talk to me right now and just say something and I have come up with, and it just flows. And
mm.
I didn't learn that in school. I didn't learn that. It just was a part of who I am. And so I would say take a step back and even write it down and look at all the things that people have said to you over the course of your career, your friends, like how you've helped people, what comes so naturally to you that you breathe it, right? That it's just innately a part of you. And then you can also connect how those things showed up in your corporate space, in your career, in all the things. And they will probably see that was probably a lot of the feedback that they got back. Oh, you're great at this, you're great at that. And it wasn't because they hit their numbers as a result of hitting their numbers, is because they had that skill. And so I think it's really going to be baked into those things that we are not paying attention to because we're so focused on the next thing or the next promotion or the next role. And we get so caught up in the work and the rushing and the next thing that you miss the foundation of who you are. And
Mm.
that's a lot of times where your gifting is. And that gifting shows up in all areas of our lives in different ways. We just have to sometimes take a step back and hone in on it, listen to it, see it. And then when we see it, we're like, oh, it's been there the whole time. Now,
Mhm.
what can I do with that now? And when they see that, they'll probably see all the opportunities that are right in front of them. They just didn't recognize it because they weren't aware of that was the gift that opens up those doors.
I love that example. That resonates a lot with me because I always call it like the present pause, right? We've never had a season where we can just pause and reflect and go intrinsically thinking about what's next, right? Or we have up these guards around protecting ourselves from who we think people think we should be, even if that is the right answer, right? So
Right.
it took me a while to see this, but I started my career on Wall Street, and one of the reasons why I wanted this were purely vanity, right? Like I wanted to
Mhm.
be rich, I wanted to wear pretty suits, I wanted to live in New York, right? I probably would never admit this at the time. It was like, no, I love finance, girl. You ain't never
Right.
loved numbers. And I get there, and my first year, I remember my manager giving feedback to the senior manager, like, I just feel like Alena doesn't get it. Like, she's smart, but she just doesn't get the culture. And I was thinking, like, why does she say that? Right. And her reasoning for that was she felt like in the midst of a crisis, I should be like panicking and trying to type really fast, but in the midst of a crisis, I like go slow and I like try to whatever. But that wasn't like the culture of Wall Street. It's
Mhm.
everybody like you panicked, right? So she
Yeah.
gave me that feedback. 3 years later, or maybe 2 years later, I put together an event where JP Morgan used to do this thing where they worked with this organization called Hybrid Voices. And this is a very long story about me, but I have a point, guys. And Hybrid Voices was like a chorus that was like from the Bronx. That's where I think I have that correct. So they come to JP and they are there to see all of the possible careers you could have, right? So they
Mhm.
get to see the trading floor, they meet all these executives. So I was tapped to put that event together, right? So I got all the people, I got them in a nice room, I had the refreshments. It was a vibe, curation is what we would call it today, right?
Yeah.
And that same manager, she was like, "This was amazing. You need to do this." And I was so offended. I was like, "Do not put me in the event planner, HR space. I'm a numbers girl. I'm a banker. Don't make me to be what you all think that we need to be, which is like a softer side of things." But it probably was 5, 6 years later when I'm thinking about, I think it was probably prompted by a marketer like yourself. When have people told you we're good at something? And that moment came to my mind. And I was like, this is actually what I now do for a living, right? Like
Oh.
I'm showcasing talent, I'm showcasing businesses, I'm showing people opportunities, I'm creating the space, and I'm calling it my own. But something about her saying it to me as a white woman who was my boss, who already told me I didn't get it, like I just couldn't accept it, right? And
Mhm.
so as I hear you saying that, I can only imagine people who have defined themselves based on one thing because they want to be seen as one thing
Yeah.
versus who they really are, being kind of like that cognitive dissonance. And so
Mhm.
I'm getting back to my question, right? When you think about branding and you start working with people, is there ever a point where you realize that people actually don't even realize their own identity or brand because you're like, you're trying to be this version, but
Mhm.
I as this, and this is probably more who you are, but you can't even see it yet.
Absolutely, even with myself, and it's funny that you say that because as you were talking, the term that I have been working on the side that's even around that. So when I used to do a little bit of coaching in the pandemic, because I was like, I got to find something to do, and I was like, I enjoy it, but that's not my calling. That's not where I want to be. But I call it identity grief.
Mm,
And because we have this idea of who we are and what we want to be, going to school, this is my future, this is what I want. And if we look over the course of our lives, there's a lot of identities that we've had to grieve when we realize that's no longer that I'm no longer that person, or that's no longer my trajectory. And a lot of times what happens is when people are fighting against that, that's when they hit those roadblocks. That's when they're like, oh, you know, I'm a numbers girl, right? It's like, no, you have this identity that she's like, and then when someone else is introducing something else, it's like, oh no,
mhm,
that's not why I worked all this hard. That's not why I'm here. And I think as we get older, we soften up the ideas of being flexible or being able to pivot to other opportunities or other things because we know that we're not just one idea or one talent. And over time, we're able to then explore, okay, let me understand a little bit more about this. But it does not come with the grieving process because there are things that I'm still grieving about where I thought I was going to be. Like before I became an entrepreneur, I always wanted to work in corporate. I was like, okay, I had this trajectory. I'm gonna get this degree. I'm gonna go work in corporate, get that experience, then come back and start my business. And it did not work that like that at all. I never made it into corporate because I never got
mhm,
the job. But I ended up working in sales, and I didn't want to go to work at Radio One in sales. I was so against that because I had this thought about, oh, I'm in marketing. I got this degree. I worked for these companies and these clients, and I'm going into sales. But I learned so much about advertising, media buys, and that sales was really working my own business in the process. I had a book of clients that I pushed them to buy the services that Radio One offered to amplify their businesses. So when I shifted my mindset to say, hey, this is like running your own business. You have a book of clients, look at it like that, learn what you need to learn. And so when I softened that identity, it was like, okay, this can add value. Don't just look at it as a negative. Look at it as an opportunity. I was working on some endorsement deals because our radio talents had buys with clients, and I do some of that stuff now. So I was able to get the insight on how those things work. And over time, it just amplified and elevated who I was and added other elements and other talents to that. And I tell people all the time, be okay with change, be okay with shifting. Doesn't mean you lose everything that you came with, it just adds to it, and it might turn into a different name, right? It might look something a little different. It's still you innately, but you just growing into another version of yourself that requires a new identity, a new title, a new something that you can call yourself.
Yeah, that's so good. I love that term, identity grief. So, with the day and age of AI, right? Speaking of being who you want to be, if I
Right.
go and talk to my chat right now, she gonna tell me I could be a surgeon. At this point, I could be anything. So, I would love to hear your perspective on how your industry has shifted, or even where you see marketing branding going now with the introduction of AI.
I think for me, I've loved it because it's helped me to stay in the creative space longer and not get caught up in the busy work or the mundane task of writing all these emails or recapping a meeting. I get AI to do that stuff and I can pull the key points out and I can focus in my zone of genius even more. And so I've loved it in the sense of using it as a thought starter or using it to, again, help me to stay creative because I get burnt out if I have to work in all the other spaces and it
Yeah,
taps my creativity. And I'm like, that's what clients hire you for. That's where you want to be. And so for me, it's been a blessing. And I've seen other colleagues and peers use it strategically in that way, where they still amplify and learn and sharpen their skill set, but they just use it to kind of clear out the clutter of some of the things that they usually get caught in so they can create more space around the things that their clients are hiring them to do. And I think that's the important thing about it. People are like, oh, AI, people. It's like, no, use it as a way to help you be more productive, make you be more efficient. Find the things that you know. I use it to schedule my emails or to look through my calendar or to adjust things so I don't have to search. It has been beautiful, right? So that it comes and gives me recaps. I've loved it to the point where I told my friend that I said, I don't know what I would do if I had to go and recap my own meeting notes or if I had to go. I was like, I would, because now, even now that those things are here, now I've increased the capacity of clients that I can serve, clients I can bring on. And so I was like, if that had changed, I wouldn't be able to do or have the impact that I have now because I have AI as that assistant. And so I think just find out how you can best use it in your business. It doesn't have to take over the entire business. And if you have protocols and things around how to use it so that you're using it in a way that is amplifying and not taking away any value or and things of that nature. But yeah, in PR, using it to help you drill down on story ideas. You're going to put the real thing in there, right? You're going to say, hey, this is my client, this is the facts. What are some opportunities, things that you may not have thought about? And then you take it from there, but you're not creating anything imaginary. It's taking real data, real input, real people, real impact that they've created and helping you to see it in different ways. And that's what I always say. You're not creating anything fake. You're taking real things and you're helping to expand it and broaden it so that you can find out the opportunity that exists right in front of your face that you might have missed.
yeah. I definitely agree that from an operational standpoint, AI has changed the game. I was cracking up at a meme that I saw yesterday where somebody was like, I really wish y'all would go back to these Canva flyers and leave these AI flyers
that
alone. Listen,
that
the
part.
AI has not caught up with the flyer game, right? And
Not
so
yet. Not
think
yet.
about even like creative and that every email they're getting now, every LinkedIn post feels like how do we
Mhm.
mitigate that from a marketing standpoint?
Use your voice. When I'm writing a LinkedIn post, I speak it. Like
Mm,
I turn on the audio and I say, hey, and I'll say it. And it just helps me to refine it some, maybe just to clean it up a little bit. But it's my voice. So I don't ever create anything that's inauthentic to me or my voice or my thought process. Like I train it on my voice, but I still make sure that I have the final say so and that it's actually my voice. So anything that I write, anything I put in, I speak it. Because I don't feel like typing. So I'll turn on the audio and speak it and I'll put it in there because I still want it to connect to me and make
mhm.
sure that if I post it and people read it, it sounds like what I would say if I was in public or if I was speaking on a podcast or anywhere that I would go. It doesn't sound overly jargoned and things because I don't even talk like that anyway. So I try to make sure that it is me in it, even though AI may be helping me to tweak it. And I still always go and reread it and make my own little tweaks and things before I even post it. Cause I'm like, I wouldn't say that. Let me change this word here or whatever the case may be. Rest assured, if it goes out on my platform or anything, even the clients that I work with, like I work hard to understand my client's voice. I listen to them speak. I like to listen to what they say. I listen to what they say out loud and when they have meetings or speaking out, and I make sure to use that. And if I know them, because even before AI, I wrote all my clients' quotes for press releases, right?
Mm.
Because I've heard them so much. And so I'm like, no, they would say this, they wouldn't say that. That's too soft. Let me shift this. And so I've already been attuned to listen to my clients over the years in PR to draft quotes to things for press releases that I'll send to them. They're like, oh, that's good. I'm good with it. Let's go. And so I do that. I take that same skill and I use that in the AI space to say, that doesn't sound right. Let me tweak this. Let me change that, because it's important that people feel that they are hearing from the person that they aspire to hear from.
Yeah. So that's a PSA. Y'all stop being lazy and talk to your AI. So it sounds, we have all kind of clinics this cohort. I just love this group. We even had a AI clinic, right? What was
Mhm.
what part of this journey do you feel like was most impactful for your company?
I think, and I always say this, I think it's connecting with people. Within each of the trainings, we had the breakouts where we got a chance to connect with different members on different days. It was a different cohort member each time, for at least for me. And just hearing where we were in our journeys related to that subject matter. Even when we talk to AI, for me, I've been doing AI, but I learned a lot of things around AI, even in the sense of looking at Claude and some others, and then how strategically to use them for different things. All AIs aren't built the same. And so there are other ways that you can use one that's better used than another. And so even making sure that I was staying up on those things. But for me, it was definitely the connections, the relationships that you build, the conversations that we've had. And I think I always say in this journey of small business and growth stage businesses, no matter where you are in your business growth, right? Knowing that other people are facing the same thing as you, that they still don't have it all figured out, they're still trying to build and grow and scale, always makes you feel like, okay, I'm not alone in this. And it gives you that extra that extra thing. So, you know what? I'm going to still go. I'm going to still push it, because unlike myself, when you're by yourself or in a silo, you can just feel like it's just you against the world. But in a cohort like this, where you feel like, no, it's us against the world and many others like us, but we get to now share this experience and support each other in this ecosystem, in this community. And that's been the biggest takeaway from each and every time I've learned something new from others. Even the reciprocity circle, like that was the round table. I love that. And so us exchanging ideas and supporting, and that was been big. And so I have a couple meetings next week with a few. So I'm excited to have those conversations. And a lot of times we can not want to ask for help and feel like, and so it puts you in a position where people are asking you, what do you need? And so it gets you into the practice of saying, hey, asking for help is not a weakness. It's a strength, it's a power, it's clarity too. And when you're clear, you're powerful, right? And so when you know what you need, why not ask for it? Because somebody can help offer that. And if that's their gifting, who are you to deny them the opportunity to pour into you or to serve you from the gift that God has given them? So I'll leave it at
No, I love it.
that.
I love it. I think that in some way, every cohort member has said that their favorite part has been the collaborations, right? I think it's
Hmm.
the ecosystem building. That's what will stand the test
Hmm.
of time. When business model change, when people close their business, they exit, it's going to still be the relationships, right? That's wonderful. So I remember when we were doing your onboarding interview, I don't know if you had this aha moment, but I know I had an aha moment for you. And I think I even went back and talked to Kyra about it. You need to go talk to Derek, because I know that's your boy
Hmm.
and this is how I feel. But the aha moment was that you had always kind of had this boutique feel for the agency or for the brand. And I was really pushing you to think about what could an enterprise look like, right? Not that we got to
Hmm.
hire thousands of people, but when we start thinking about enterprise level opportunities, scalability, which is really another
Hmm.
goal, or it was really opening you up to building beyond you being the bottleneck. How did
Yeah.
that moment change how you thought about your business, or has it? Did I just imagine that moment, or was it real?
No, it was real, because I think a couple things. I think it was like a hurt from a past experience that when I first started my business, I was forced to scale really fast. And I
Okay.
was fresh out of Radio One. I had this back of a napkin idea that I turned into a business while I was in grad school. And so I had built all this stuff just seeing what I saw, and went and got this contract and was like, oh shoot. And I had built support team around me and say, hey, if I got this, would you come help? Or would you come help? So I did all that grassroots stuff. And so when it happened, I was like, oh shoot. So I was kind of thrown into it, managing people, doing all this other stuff. And I was learning. That first 4 years of my business was really like learning by fire. And I hired someone It was almost like they forced themselves into the business. They were a friend. I hired them for a contract position because they were great. They were skilled at what I needed, and I didn't need to be stuck in that part of it. And then over time, it was just like, oh, let's go after this business. And they were chasing money. They weren't chasing the values and the systems and what I would build the company around. And so towards the end, I was like, I gotta let this person go, but I kept putting it off. I finally let them go. And after I let them go, it was funny. I had a meeting with a client for renewal, and the client was like, oh, they didn't want to work with that individual anymore. And I was like, why not? And they were telling me what they had heard back from some of our third party partners around some of our media buying, that they were rude and this and that. And I'm like, you're representing the company. And so for me, that was one of those things where it just kind of took me by surprise. And then the client didn't renew their contract, not because of that, but because of other things. But so I gave my team, like I had someone on full time, a time to actually get another job. And so by the time they got a new job, everybody was good. The client didn't renew. And so I was the one that took the brunt of that loss, which is what I wanted. I want to make sure everybody's good. And so since then, I hadn't really built team, because I was still on that hurt. And I was like, the fear of what if that happens again? But over time, I've been hearing it. And so when you said it, and then you were like, I think it was like, no, it's time. And that's why I'm in the cohort. That's why I'm here, to make sure that I do it right, that I get the insights. And since then, I hired a chief of staff. So I'm working on onboarding a chief of staff, and I've had conversations with two of the individuals that have been loyal contractors on projects around some strategic partnership opportunities around their area of expertise in the company, and how I can start to divvy out things. So it's felt good to step back and to be gently pushed back into that space, right? And to realize that, hey, it's not just you. And if you truly want to scale and grow and do all the amazing things that you want to do for even more businesses and people, you have to have the infrastructure and team. And so, no, you're right. We had a moment, and it was good to hear that, and to say, you know what, okay, you just need that extra push sometimes.
Yeah. Yeah, that's so relatable. I think that most business owners, if they haven't already, will experience some type of moment of this, like, took me out and I never want to
Hmm.
experience it. And it doesn't necessarily have to be just like life or death. I worked in network marketing for 5 years and was very successful, but I had a team of 1,500 people, and I'm an introvert. And even though people don't believe I'm
Hmm.
an introvert, I am. Like, that's how I regain my power. So having to be on for 1,500 people for
Hmm.
6 years, it took me to the place where you were, where it's like, I don't want to do nothing with nobody. Don't call me. Don't Facebook me. I'm not running no community, nothing. I don't want to see,
Hmm.
I don't want anybody to depend on me. Now I got all these kids. Like, I just
Yeah.
can't. But I think that, to your point, I'm getting to a place where I'm evolving and I'm thinking about, okay, what could it look like to go back to community, to be what you were good at, whatever. And so that kind of feels like it could be like what did you say, a Ross rule, right?
Rules of
in
Ross. Yeah.
in terms of like whatever, getting past the identity grieve, getting past like just different things that you have experienced. So if you had to give us, if someone's listening to this, they're considering applying, and you're thinking
Mhm.
about all of the things that you've gained, the things that you've been through as a business owner, bringing in your rules.
I would say there's not going to be a perfect time. So putting it off and saying, I want to wait until this time in my business, or I have this in place, do it now, because they can be a part of your journey as you're getting to that point. And that point might not necessarily be the destination that you're trying to get to. The cohort and the expertise and the community and the people that have the experience that you're looking to have, or the value to add back to your business and where you're trying to go, may have you go in a different direction that's even better and get you there quicker. Right. So they say, if you want to go further, go together. If you don't want to go far, you go alone, right? Because you get tired. You can't carry all of it by yourself. And so with this cohort, it has been amazing to see that, yay, I'm not the only one on this journey. And everybody is so collaborative. They're helpful. Hey, what do you need? Hey, I'll
Mhm.
look at that for you. Don't worry about it. Send me the copy. And so it feels good, and it gives you a rejuvenating energy. So in a space or a time where you may feel burnt out, or you feel like I'm on the brink of just like, I'm done,
Mhm.
join. Don't be worried. Don't worry about trying to figure it all out. Just get to it. I had a busy schedule. Like when we talked about, I trained boot camp, and one of the sessions started 30 minutes after I got off, but I still came in. I watched the recordings. Show up for what you want and what you say you want in your life. And even the strategic planning session, that was amazing, because build your life around what you want to create, right? And your business around the life that you want to have. And so for me, that sparked me to really think about my strategic plan. And so do that. Use this as an opportunity to help get clarity on where you are in your business, what you need, what support you need, so that you can start to build your business around your life and the things that you really want to have and create in the world. So do it.
Mhm. That really feels like a mic drop. So I'm going to leave it there. This was amazing. Thank you so much, Derek. For those of you all who are listening and you're interested in learning more about our programs, we encourage you to visit tkcsmartceos.com. Derek is responsible for the website. So amazing. And we look forward to seeing you on the other side. Thank you.
Hey.
Thanks for listening to Smart Chat. Smart CEOs, you are on your way. We hope this episode has been fantastic for you. We are excited that you were here. So here's the deal. Follow us on all of our social media, look up the Kyra Company, and join us on all of our private platforms. We invite you to join our private Facebook group at the Smart CEOs. Jump in, join the conversation, and learn more about what we can do every day to grow our business and grow our community. Thanks so much for joining us. We're excited that you were here. Once again, I'm Kyra Hardwick, and you know it. I was thrilled to bring the Smart Chat to you. Take care. Talk to you soon.